Toronto is getting ready to crack a few cold ones. City Council has approved a pilot program to allow drinking in some public parks. It kicks off next month at almost 30 locations across the city. Megan Fitzpatrick is at one of them and joins me now. So Megan, what's the plan?
Well, Juanita, this debate has been going on for years in Toronto, whether to allow alcohol consumption in parks or not. It's come up at City Council before, but there hasn't been much movement on the idea until now. A few months ago, City Council directed city staff to come up with a proposal to allow drinking in parks, which they did, and then that pilot project proposal was put to a vote yesterday at City Council, and it was passed. So what's going to happen now is that this pilot project will start on August 2nd and run until October 9th, where alcohol consumption will be allowed in 27 parks across the city. Now, these parks were all chosen in consultation with local councillors who represent the wards where the parks are. So they had to be on board with the idea, and they helped formulate the list of the parks. They include this one where we are here in Toronto's East End, Monarch Park. Others were chosen based on the size of the park, washroom facilities, these kinds of considerations. There are no parks chosen that were directly located next to beaches, for example, having in mind that swimming and alcohol consumption can be particularly risky. So they took things into consideration when coming up with the list. It does include big parks like Trinity Bellwoods, Greenwood Park, Riverdale Park, Christie Pitts. They're kind of spread out throughout the city. And again, this is something that has been somewhat controversial in Toronto, when the city staff had done some consultations with the public. Some people on board with the idea, others expressing concerns about public intoxication, rowdy behavior, more litter in the parks, these kinds of concerns. Now, the city is saying they are going to monitor how this pilot project goes. They're going to be installing more recycling bins in parks, for example. Toronto Public Health is being consulted about this effort too, and they're going to be involved in spreading messaging around safer consumption of alcohol, spreading information about the risks of alcohol consumption as well. And the public will have their opportunity as well, Juanita, to share their opinions. There'll be an online survey where residents of Toronto can make their views known about whether they like how this pilot project is going or not. So again, just for Torontonians or anyone planning on visiting Toronto this summer, be aware this doesn't start until August 2nd, and it's not every park in the city of Toronto, only specific 27 locations.
Okay, and Megan, this may be old news to some people living in other Canadian cities. Where else has this already been implemented?
Yeah, Toronto's a bit behind in terms of where other cities are at in terms of allowing alcohol consumption in parks. Toronto did look to some other cities where it's been allowed to see how it's gone there when developing the idea here in Toronto. So cities like Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, in recent years, they've done pilot projects as well, which they deemed successful enough that they have made it permanent in their cities. Now, there are different rules and restrictions around where it can be consumed depending on the city. In Vancouver, for example, it's 31 parks where it's allowed all year round, and then they add a few more parks just for the summer months. Cities like Regina have been considering the idea as well. It came up at their city council recently, but they, like Toronto has been doing, have delayed the discussion until August. Other cities like Montreal have rules too. Alcohol can be consumed, for example, in designated picnic areas where food is being consumed too. So various rules depending on the jurisdiction, Juanita. But again, Toronto set to launch its version of alcohol consumption in parks on August 2nd.